the fighting Toro, Nigel Farage, fighting bull. And it's him with a bullhorn on the front with the British flag, Union Jack, I guess, as an umbrella over his shoulder. Nigel Farage, Farage spelled F-A-R-A-G-E, fighting bull. Great name. And how he's taking on the globalists, the unelected Euro-crats that now make 70+% of the laws in the UK. Our fight against the New World Order is ongoing. Mr. Farage, it is great to have you here, sir. You've got 9 lives.
Just amazing. Anybody listening to this that sees the pictures of the crash, which I'm sure you can get and put up on your site, and these incredible photographs of me lying in the wreckage of this light aircraft crash, and you'd have thought for all the world I'd be dead. And whilst I've been badly injured, it really has been the most miraculous escape. It really has.
Folks are wondering, I mean, I know you've got a stiff upper lip and don't want to talk about yourself, but, the pilot, how he's doing and what your injuries were.
Well, the pilot was a former Royal Air Force trained pilot, so, no cowboy. I mean, a proper chap. It was a genuine accident. In life, accidents happen. You can't insulate yourself against this. When you have an impact injury, such as we had, lots of unpleasant things happen. Justin, the pilot, had lacerations and cuts and broken bones, and he's also got some bad skin problems. He's going to need skin grafts and whatever. And I finished up with 10 broken bones in my upper body. So sternum broken, fractures to the spine, mercifully not huge ones, and virtually every rib front and back broken, plus a punctured lung. So, a pretty comprehensive list of injuries. Facially, a few cuts on the face, but nothing too awful. But mercifully, no real head injuries. So if those awful, ghastly Eurocrats that want to take over my country and destroy our democracy think they've got rid of me, they've got another thing coming, because it may take me a few months to get better, but I'm going to be back fighting them.
Absolutely, and I was saying, you're such a champion of liberty, if we have to, we'll just stick you in a Darth Vader iron lung and roll you out against the enemy.
I'm going to be back, and one of the really interesting things, since I had this accident, is the one great prediction that I've had over the years was that this attempt to take countries like Greece and Germany and to force them together in a single monetary union. I've been saying for over 10 years that it wouldn't work. And whilst I've been laid up in hospital and back here at home recovering, of course, we're now seeing the collapse of that monetary system. We're seeing riots on the street in Greece. We've seen people die.
And by the way, to interrupt, and I want to give you the floor, sir, in the time we have, you giving speeches 2 years ago predicted all of this. You, just a few months ago, excoriated Herman von Rompuy, the unelected dictator, openly calling for world government. And now their arrogance has evaporated. The London Guardian reported that the Bildernberg Group has said that they're afraid of protesters and afraid of me by name. So they're just horrified that the public is now identifying them. So how did you predict all this, A, and then B, go into the state of Europe right now?
Well, before I was in politics, I had a job in the real world. For 20 years, I worked on the foreign exchange and commodity market, so I have some idea of how the global economy actually works. And it really exists, Alex, because things are different. Things are different. Individual countries have their own currency, they have their own interest rates, and they're able to adapt and adjust to changing global markets and changing conditions. When you try and pretend, as part of your attempt at firstly European government, but leading on to global government, that actually we're all the same, and that we can all come under the same umbrella. All of my experience told me that it couldn't work. Everything told me that the German economy was a different economy to the Greek economy, and that those guys joining together in a monetary union 10 years ago couldn't work. So I've been predicting disaster consistently over the course of the last 10 years, and now it really is happening. And if ever there was an example of why bureaucratic control, of why people who've got their dreams and their plans, just like the communists, of course, let's not forget, because they operated on exactly the same basis. If ever there was an example of why this is mad, bad, dangerous, and will lead to civil war, you're seeing it in Europe right now.
Yeah, a bunch of unelected bureaucrats. For those that don't know, they're exempt from their own EU taxes. briefly explain, I mean, as if you're talking to 6-year-olds, I mean, you know, for me, because I want it simply, how you have an elected parliament, but it is a ceremonial vassal to the bureaucracy that has the real power.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, the Palace of Westminster, and I know that you guys in the States often watch our Prime Minister's questions, and you see this magnificent Gothic building, and just a couple of weeks ago the Queen arrived in her carriage to open Parliament, and it all looks magnificent, and the relationship between the monarch and the Parliament, it all goes back to the English Civil War. And it's something that has been the envy of the world in many ways. And yet the reality is the whole thing is now a total charade, because what we've got in Westminster is nothing more than a local government. I mean, think of it as a county type of government, because the big decisions that affect the British economy, the big decisions that affect our lives, employment legislation, environmental legislation, health and safety, I mean, you name it, the list goes on, it's as long as your arm. All of those things are now decided by the European Union. Those laws are made in secret by an unelected bureaucracy that is called the European Commission, and we, the voter, have no means of putting them in place. We have no means of removing them. And this coup d'etat, because that's what it is, this coup d'etat of British democracy has happened slowly, surreptitiously, over the course of the last 40 years by people whose intention it was to form a European government, a greater Europe, and it is a first step towards global government. And that's the warning, and that's one of the reasons why I'm very keen to come on to shows like yours to talk to predominantly an American audience. You know, don't think you're safe. Don't think your democracy is okay. There are bad people out there, and you mentioned yourself the Bilderdberg group. You know, these lunatics genuinely believe that they know what's best for us, genuinely believe in this concept of global government, and it will be a disaster. And that's why I gave up a career in business to fight against it.